Syria's president spoke to his people today for only the third time since a wave of protests broke out all over the country in March. Bashar al-Assad made vague promises of reform, but as you're about to see, a lot of Syrians don't believe it. Assad's family has ruled through violence for 40 years. Syria doesn't allow reporters inside, so our Wyatt Andrews is on the border in Turkey.
This was the reaction to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's speech, not only in towns across the country, but even in the capital Damascus. A wave of protests that began the moment he stopped speaking. "We want freedom," they chanted. This group of protesters in western Syria brandished their shoes, the ultimate Arab insult, as they shouted to Assad, "You are going down in the garbage of history." Assad claimed to have heard the legitimate cries of the people. He promised to end government corruption and start a dialogue with opponents. It was a speech that might have worked before this. A 3-month crackdown, which according to Syrian activists has left some 1,400 demonstrators dead.
What is happening today has nothing to do with reform. It has to do with vandalism.
Eyewitness accounts from inside Syria say Assad's army has been on a rampage in the country's northwest, emptying whole villages and towns. Refugees say troops arrested everyone they could catch, shot at anyone running away, and apparently to hasten starvation, burned the one bakery in the town of Badama, supplying bread to the Syrian refugees in the hills.
They want to cut us off, cut off our water and bread supplies. Everything which came to this camp came from Badama.
Syrian refugees who have reached Turkey also erupted in anger after Assad's speech, a demonstration captured on a CBS News cell phone. This woman, who asked not to be identified, is shouting, "We don't want Assad. We don't want Assad anymore." The protesters want Assad gone, but Assad wants to remain in power. And what we are hearing here on the Turkish-Syrian border is that Assad's speech today only stoked up the tensions inside Syria. He did not calm things down.
Wyatt, you can't get into Syria. It's a very difficult story to cover, and I wonder simply, how do we know what we know in that story?
Scott, you're right that Syria is closed to foreign journalists. So are these refugee camps where the Syrian refugees are. But cell phone service here is remarkably good. So we've been sending cell phones into these camps to interview refugees directly, and even giving cell phones to Syrians sneaking across the border at night to look after their homes. And so all of the first-person accounts, or almost all, that we've brought to you of this tragedy have been pieced together using cell phone video and interviews.
Thanks, Wyatt.